introduce yourself to the podcast listeners real quick.
Intro myself. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Kristen. I am as my title on Instagram says, I'm a badass manifestation coach. But I really teach energy because your energy behind what you're doing is what manifests. And I don't think a lot of people conceptualize manifestation really truly from a self-reflection point of view. So that's my goal, is to help women at this time self-reflect, to manifest what they want. Because like when you find this power within, that energy, your beliefs, your thoughts, your feelings, when you find that within and you really understand how powerful that is, you will never want to go back to the old version of you.
See, this is why I say it's going to be one of these shows, I think when I was scheduling this one, I said, you know what, before we get into 500, I really want to get into 500 with some powerhouses to really show them what the setup is going to be coming into 8 years of doing this as of October 31st.
500 episodes.
500 episodes.
Oh, that's baller, man. That's cool. I'm at like episode 30 and I'm like, woo!
Yeah, but you soon going to be at episode 100. We rooting for that, right? It's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Just hashtag keep going, but that's cool.
I like that. You got to put that on a shirt though.
Hashtag keep going?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll make a shirt.
Oh,
Team keep going.
Yeah. So you talk about manifestation, and I went on your platform, brilliant platform, things like that, your podcast. At the time, probably when this comes out, it probably will be out. I'm not sure, and things like that. But manifestation coach, dating, and your journey. Talk about the importance of that healing journey that you had to experience and what you had to go through.
Oh, so this is like, where do I start? So for me, let me give a little my backstory so people know where I'm coming from, because a lot of times I think coaches talk and we see what is now and it's like, yeah, but where have you been? Where have you come from? What struggles have you been through? And like, for me, it started, I don't know, like probably a month after I was born, when my father, for all intents and purposes, was abusive, very emotionally abusive, mentally abusive. Not so much physically, which is why it took me a long time to say it was abuse. And really unpacking all of my bullshit that has come along with that toxicity, mainly like what I'm attracted to and the way that I view love and relationships, and the way that I view myself in relation to love and relationships, which it's a really hard thing to look at and realize I have done all of this and I keep creating this situation for myself when I chase men and I think I have to work for love and I have to earn love, and it's a prize that needs to go in the trophy case. And until I get it, I'm not worth it, because ultimately I don't believe I'm worth it. That's, where I started. And I didn't see any of that. Like, I, for years, was like, all I seek out are douchebags. Like, if I could just find a nice guy, if I could just find a good one. And I could imagine it. I could feel into it. I think a lot of women can. I think a lot of people can. We go into our little daydream and it's like, I can feel what that relationship feels like. But then you come out of it and you meet somebody who's emotionally unavailable, who tells you they don't want a relationship, who, says, I don't want to be with you. I like, why don't we just quote unquote see where this goes, dating with no intention? And it's like, we sit in that instead of saying, oh, it's an abundant world out there and I'm going to find somebody, or I'm going to wait for the person who chooses me because I'm going to choose myself. We say, hold on. Who can I shape myself into to get you to like me? And we shrink and we stay stuck, and then we blame it on that other person. And we don't realize how much power we have to say, hey, this is hard because I want this. Like, I'm interested, but I'm not interested in making myself small and reducing myself to something that I don't want to be, in hopes that you change your mind, in hopes that this good sex automatically transforms into this great relationship. Not realizing that when we're sitting in something that isn't what we want, we're manifesting more waiting. We're manifesting more toxicity. We're manifesting more lack. So that's really where I came from. I feel like that was a long-winded way to get there and I sort of trailed off, but that was kind of like my journey. And then I had a crazy spiritual awakening in 2021 when I was going through a breakup with somebody that I had like barely dated. I mean, we were friends for like 3 or 4 months and then we crossed the line and I got really hooked and really attached. And we were at a festival and I had seen him and I had taken some MDMA, and it was about a half an hour after I saw him, like I was sitting there and I was really anxious and really upset. And it was just like this 3 to 4 minute time span when I like floated out of my body and was like third partying myself. And I still can't, it's really weird to put into words still, but I just know that it was a huge turning point in my life and a catalyst for my growth, my healing, my development. And that right shortly after that, I found manifestation and like really started to dive into it. And it was the first thing I found was manifesting a specific person, which we can get into. It's a whole nother path that I can talk about. And it's taken me a while to get to like the woo-woo side of manifestation, which is why I teach.
Yo, guys, what's going on? I appreciate you. Thank you. Turn on all bell notifications, subscribe, like, and comment to the podcast. It's the best way to stay up to date. And hey, it helps us gain the clarity and boost ourselves into that algorithm. We appreciate the support each and every day, each and every week. Let's keep on going to keep on growing. Peace.
Women, you've got to manage from like a psychological standpoint, from a psychology standpoint, you've got to kind of analyze who you're being and understand that everything's a reflection. And once you know how to manage that from that self-reflection standpoint, then you can get into the woo-woo stuff of like, oh, miracles can come my way. And you know how to manage your energy from like, it's this or something better. You know how to detach. Like these are all so important that a lot of coaches mention and talk about, but they don't really explain the how or the why. And that's where I got really stuck because I have attachment issues or have had attachment issues in the past that I've had to work through. And that's what was keeping me stuck from my manifestations. I'm like, well, I'm visualizing and I'm doing this and I'm affirming and I'm doing all the manifestation techniques, but nothing's happening because I was so stuck on one thing. So I had to really open up and see the abundance and let things flow. And finally, I'm starting to get some return on that, but it took a while.
There's a
Does
lot
that answer
there.
your question?
Yeah. No. I know what I'm doing here. We're gonna season it up, all right? Yeah, you said a lot. It's a lot of points, and I think that when it talks about healing, I feel like healing can be very subjective to a lot of people, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that what I'm starting to see with healing, a lot of people want to start healing when they enter just before they get into their 30s. And I think for me, as where I'm at, I've always had that in me, right? I was in my mid-20s really hammering what healing was looking like, but it wasn't more of healing. It was more of self-development, really spearheading what that looks like, getting that coaching, that leadership, those principles, those foundations that were handed to with mom and dad. Now, I understand when you mix that with trauma, things can kind of get a little rough. You know what I mean? For a woman, if your mom was not there in life, it can be very hard. If your dad wasn't there, it can be very hard. But there's some foundation, fundamental basis that I think that we should have had enlisted. And I feel like when it's the dating, now when I look at people that I know that are in their 20s, there's some people that have picked it up and they've gotten it. I think long have gone the days of where we see people getting in relationships in their 20s and then in their 30s, they're either having a kid or they want to, subject themselves to marriage. Now it's kind of like where you have the carriage in front of the horse. And what you speak to, it's like we want to go out and we may want to just sleep with somebody and then see, we'll see where it goes. And I think you're creating a very dangerous environment. Very, very dangerous environment. And I think that men and women tend to now want to juggle all these balls, but realize that they don't have enough goddamn substance out there. You see what I'm saying? We talked about it on your show, the level of discernment and decorum, and it has to go on both ways. Men can't just look at women and want to simply say, yo, we're just going to sleep with each other and that's it. You know what? No strings attached. And women can't just open up themselves to these dudes that don't really serve a purpose. So it's, where does that trade-off come? Because if you don't heal those inner parts of you, and I think again, healing can be all different for people. It could be in
Yeah.
your mid-20s, could be in your 30s, could be in your 40s. But I think if you're doing this cornball BS, because I say it's cornball BS, the hookup culture, all that in your 30s, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm in my 40s now, I want commitment. Like, no, sorry, people. You gotta heal that. You know what I mean? So what comes up for you?
A lot to unpack there.
Mm.
So it's interesting because I should have wrote some stuff down, but the first thing that's coming to mind is like, well, one, the healing, like we're always healing. The minute you think you're healed, the universe is going to smack you in the face and knock you down. Like you are not done. You are never done. And I have found and seen with my clients, with my friends, following influencers who have been in this game for a while, when you get in a relationship, it will show you wounds and triggers that you didn't even know existed. Like
And say that
we
again, please. Just repeat that again, please.
louder for the
'Cause
people in the back.
I got that goosebumps right there, and I'm in a
You
sweater, mind you.
and it's hot out. You're never done. You aren't. And if I think so many people, society has built this narrative that there is a fairy tale waiting for you. And there is, but there isn't. The fairy tale is not coming to save you. You need to create the fairy tale from the inside out, which means you need to be the bitch or the mofo in the fairy tale who's already in it. You can't show up in as Cinderella and be like, where's my fairy godmother? I'm here, ready to be transformed. You have to be the transformation. You have to be the fairy godmother. You have to do it for yourself. And if you don't, you're going to bring all this bullshit into this relationship with this other human. And you're going to be like, here, this is your problem now, subconsciously. And that's not fair. Now, that's not to say, again, there's a paradox here because you also will never be completely healed. So you got to stop waiting. Oh, I need to be better. I need to be more. I need to be this. I need to be that. And then I'll be worthy of love. You're worthy right now. It's when you believe in that worth to the nth degree that you can hold space for somebody else and their bullshit. Because when you don't have room for your own bullshit, you don't have room for someone else's bullshit. And that's why there's so much toxicity out there right now, because we have no tolerance for one another. We're expecting somebody to show up and be what we need and be what we want and show up how we want without having to communicate, without having to go through any level of discomfort. I mean, the second something goes wrong, it's like, oh, damn it. That almost worked. Swipe. And it's like, hold the phone, dude. Pause for a second and sit in that. Talk to this person about it. Communicate with them. And stop running from yourself. Stop running from yourself. Sit in it for a second. Just sit in the bullshit. Sit in the discomfort. And then communicate. And then see if you can build together. Because that's what it's all about. Connection and building together. And we're so afraid of that anymore that we run from it because society has made it so easy to just move on. But we're not really moving on.
And I believe the universe, or if you're on the spiritual side of things, God will
Source, whatever your
always
source is.
hand you specific tests in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You spoke about this on your show. It's like wherever you are, you may look, if you're a man or a woman, whatever, that person gets presented in your life. And it's for you to recognize that, but you don't recognize it and you run away from it. And I use this analogy where I said is you could be the remedy, but they still reach for the poison at the end of the day. They still reach for the poison. And the thing is,
Oh,
at
that
the end
gave
of
me
the day,
chills.
right? This is what we doing here. We're here to cook, right? But when you're reaching for that poison, you can't go to your family, your friends, your coworkers. Oh, I can't find any good guys in my life. For men, oh, can't find any good women in my life. They're playing games. It's because I've always will say this, and I know that somebody in the atmosphere of the world of Instagram or YouTube is going to take this and say is people love the attention that broken gives them. That's
Oh,
me.
yeah.
I've said that.
Yeah.
I've been saying that. People love the attention that broken gives them. So when I step out and I use this reference point, I talk about aura. Your aura can be so strong that it trickles people away. And I was out at this, we were speaking about this before we hit the record. I was at a festival, food festival thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a guy that I played basketball with and I went to high school with said is a lot of people ain't going to want to relate to you because of how real you keep it. So when they see you out, they'll look at you, but they may not come up to you and be like, hey, man, how's it going? Or, what's been going on? It's because they try to distance themselves because they know that their spiritual alignment can't reach with yours. You see what I'm saying?
Subconsciously, yeah.
Right? And that's the reason why some people are just rather just walk away. But here's the thing is, don't be out here playing shady games. Don't do that in your friendships. Don't do that in business. And don't do that in your relationships. People can identify and sniff out those games. Scooby-Doo out here. Trust me,
But
I know
here's the
when
other
games are
thing.
there.
If you don't want to be in gameplay and you keep experiencing gameplay, it is because you're right. You're in that aura, or as I like to call it, your energy, which your beliefs, your thoughts, and your feelings align with gameplay, which means your thoughts are probably like, as a woman, this is a classic gameplay. Oh, well, he didn't text me back for like 3 hours. I'm going to make him wait for 4. Stop it. Stop it. Because now you're manifesting more gameplay. You're manifesting more manipulation. And then when it blows up in your face, you go, well, he was just like an asshole to me. Like he wouldn't text me back ever. You've got to grab hold of that and come from a place of self, because here's the other thing you said that sparked something was, don't be out here playing shady games. But all of that is subjective, right? Like our alignment could be off, and I could be like, he's just a game player because he didn't text me back for 6 hours. Well, on your end, you're like, no, this is actually who I'm not a big texter. So that's a misalignment, but you're in your pocket of who you are. You're actually not playing shady games, but I'm telling you you are because I don't like it. And so you have to figure out what you are, who you are, and what feels best, and sink into that, because the people who aren't aligned with you are going to tell you that you're wrong. And so if you're not sunken into who you are, you're going to question yourself. And the more you question yourself, you're going to come out of your pocket, and then you're going to be manipulative, and you're going to manifest the whole cycle again. So from a place of self, like, you've got to sink the fuck into that and like hold on to it. No, this is who I am. I'm not a texter. I'm not going to change that and stress myself out. We're not aligned. I got to let you go. I'm going to hold
And
space for somebody who's more aligned with me.
And when I hear that you're not a texter, I spoke about this on your show where it's like, for me, women, and if anybody wants to challenge with this, by all means, come on the platform. We can meet face to face and have this conversation. But I'm yet to be remain, because I know I'm about to tell the truth here. A woman's always going to orbit herself around you to want to communicate, no matter what's going on.
Oh, you did say that.
Yeah, I know men may not have that tendency because we're not good communicators. But I know a slew of dudes that when we talk on the phone, it's 3-4 hour conversations, and people are going to look at you and be like, that's weird. You guys are grown men talking on the phone for 3 to 4 hours, because there's a lot to catch up on.
No,
That shows the communication.
And men need that. I don't think a lot of that's a frowned upon thing in society, that men are not supposed to open up to other men. Yes, you guys are. Do it. Like, you need emotional outlets with people who understand your emotions. Yeah, your woman can be like, I want my guy to come home and be like, babe, I had the worst day. Like, I'm at 5% right now. I'm like, all right, I'm at 95%. I got you. Let's talk this out. But you need that, like, go in the man cave, have a couple beers or whatever it is that you do, and like open up to each other, because that cultivates more healing and more connection, which is what we freaking need.
But we don't want to connect because we
It's
are
scary.
running away. We're running away because somebody may see our imperfections. You know how many times, and I don't really go too much in my personal life, but I've said, you know what? When I go into this 8-year run now, like, we're going 8 years, I'm going to start opening up some more deeper conversations, because I think some people want to peg me as the relationship guy. But I know what that means for me. It means, yes, I'm the relationship guy, but I'm about cultivating collaboration first to make, well, sorry, I say this. I'm better off building the connection to reach the collaboration in the 4 pillars. That's where I come from. And that's just in business. That's in friendship. That's in work. And that's in, networking.
Romantic.
Things like
Oh,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And for me, it's like, if you can't communicate, like this is what we do. We're content creators. Some people identify us as content creators,
Mm-hmm.
podcasters, leadership coaches. We have a gift for gab,
Yeah.
but then it gets labeled. It gets labeled as, well, your energy's too much, or you think you're a know-it-all. And it's just like, no, we know what we are doing. Like when I have direct communication, I'm off the ball on people. And people are like, who is this guy? Is this guy a cyborg? No, it's just who I am.
Yeah.
I can always anticipate, because when I turn my coaching meter on, you're you're not going to win, right? So I turn on my coaching meter. I know when the bullshit is bullshit, and I know when you're being real. And when people are being real, I'm gonna tell people this. That's a sexy thing. That's a sexy thing. Be real. Be open. You don't have to do it within the
What
first
is
encounter.
what is your definition of real?
No strings attached. Just be within yourself. Safe space. It's okay to talk about anything in this world. I'm not saying you got to go in your deep dark secrets or your fears, but like be open. If you have something bothering you, 9 times out of 10, I can almost identify it. And that can be in the early stages, the middle stages, or when we're in like a full out committed relationship. Like if you're having a bad day at work and you get on the phone or I see you in person, you're all moping around. Okay, well, why are you doing that? Like, it's okay to say what's on your mind. Oh, I had a bad day at work. I think more people need to be more open and honest. And that's something just on the general basis. Just the basis of it. If you're having a
Yeah.
bad day at work, just say it. Okay, well, what's going on? Or if your friend's giving you an issue, or it's your brother or sister that's giving you an issue, instead of holding on to that, just speak about it. Because if you're more open and upfront and honest, it gets people to know where your radar meter is at. But when you're holding on, you're just like, I'm bothersome and I don't want to discuss my feelings. I don't want to discuss how
I
I'm,
don't
you know,
I don't want to
like,
burden anyone. I don't want anyone to
I don't want to
dislike
hear
me.
that. I don't want to
Yeah.
hear that, because it's like, for me, I'm just like, okay, if you're doing this now, what's it going to be like a year down the road, 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road?
Well, yeah, see, I would challenge you on that a little bit.
Let's do it.
Not 100%. But this is one of those things that I was kind of talking about where it's like, you need to be totally where I want you to be or it's not going to work. And we all have different wounds and we all have different stories and we all have different insecurities. And communication is really hard for a lot of people because society has told us to basically, especially after the last 4 years, your opinion doesn't matter. Shut the fuck up and do what you're told. And it's like this weight. And so now it's like, well, I do have something to say, but I don't want to be disliked. I don't want to cause conflict. Everybody nowadays, if you trigger somebody in the littlest way, nobody knows how to handle their own triggers. So it's like, I don't want to trigger you because if you lash out at me personally, I could handle it. Like, I'll come Philly for your ass. Don't come at me with your sass. But I've also been that. And I'm like, oh, I know I'm a lot. So it might be hard for people to open up to me. So this is where I say self-reflect. If somebody's doing something that you don't like, check in with you. Who are you being? Are you really being the person who is creating a safe space for them to be vulnerable enough to open up to you? Especially if it's somebody I'm dating and I see potential with, because I know I've been that girl before where I'm like, you didn't text me. Like, you must not like me. That means you don't like me. Now I'm going to recoil. I'm going to clam up. I'm going to shut down. And I'm not going to talk to you because I know you don't like me. Now that's a very, very immature way of doing that, which is something I used to do, but I can't promise those wounds aren't going to come back if I'm really triggered in a relationship and I'm scared to death that I'm going to get my heart broken again. And you show up with your big energy and I'm like, well, I want him to like me. So I'm just going to, this is fine. And it's not that scroll that goes across our face. It's like, I want him to like me. I don't want him to be mad at me. Like, I'm fine. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal. I'll get over it. And then we push it down. And then we push another one down. And then we push another one down until it's stacked on stacked on stacked. And then we blow up. And it's like, where did this come from? I think both people, when you're in a relationship and you're building something, like, you both have to be cognizant of that. Hey, I have something to say that you might not like, and I'm actually scared. Let two things exist at once. I'm fucking scared to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you anyway. Like, put that out on the table. That's vulnerability. That's you creating the foundation. Because if at that point somebody steps on you, then maybe that's a good indication like this is not going to work because I really don't feel safe now.
You say some valid points. And then basically what I want the audience to know is like it's about just trying. Just try. Like
Mm-hmm.
how I talk, I've talked in a very direct approach. And I know it can be intimidating for a lot of folks. But if you really look at it through the landscape, it's just try. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you can come to me with almost any situation. Trust me, any situation. I'm talking about early stages. Like I've had to deal with some things just in the dating, like just dating somebody. And when they bring you up some things, they're like, well, can I be honest with you? And they're like, okay, cool. And you can hear the tenseness if it's on the phone or you see them just shaking and sweating. I'm like, no story I've ever heard is going to make me judge a person because I understand that we've all have specific issues that have maybe arose in our life. And who am I
Yeah.
going to condemn you? You know what I mean?
Right. And
Like I
it's
had an
those,
ex.
if we're, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I had an ex say, she's like, something, something about a warehouse. This is a long, long time ago. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I got arrested. It was over 10K. Like, all right, cool. It's like you still have those criminal charges. You know what I mean? Because when I heard it, I was like, so you a robber? Like, what are we doing? Do I need to vault
You
everything?
have a
Like, what's
felony?
going on here? Like, you know what I mean? I didn't
Yeah.
know you worked for the mob boss. Like, what are we doing? Right? But she's like, and she was like sweating buckets. But you know what? I realized because that can come back up again. You know what I mean? Because you just never know.
Well, yeah. And,
But you have no record, so you're fine. Like, what are we talking about? Like, what? Yeah,
well,
come
and
on
people
now.
get immature too and then hold it against people. It's like, you know, we have to stop using each other's past as ammunition or something that happened with us that if it's not laid to rest, talk about it until it is. Don't bring it up in another fight and then throw it back. Like we're just building more and more resentment and bitterness toward each other. We've, for a good portion of society, we've lost the ability to really connect deeply because it's easier not to. But so
Exactly.
many people are craving it. They just have no idea how to get it.
So we're speaking about that. We're laying that up right now. It's like off the backboard lob to you, and you're just gonna come in, cock it back, and bang it down on the, in Wells Fargo Arena. You know what I mean? Things like that. So how do we get to that point of what clear, effective communication looks like from man to woman or woman to man? Let's talk about it.
There's, for me, it became being able to see myself, being able to accept myself, my flaws, my wounds, my insecurities, my weaknesses, like all of those at this point. And detachment. Detachment was huge for me because detachment like cuts that energy cord and gives me the ability to say, hey, this is me and I don't need you to love it. And if you don't, that's okay. But the old attached version of me would have been like, I have to hide all of this shit because if you see it, you won't like me. And I need you to like me because who else is there? Nobody likes me. So I need it from you. And it varies person to person, depending on like what your insecurities are, what your fears are. I think the first thing is really to sit with yourself, to sit in the discomfort. Ask yourself what you're so afraid of. Is it that you're going to be single forever? Is that your fear? That you're never going to find somebody, that there's nobody out there for you? And after you identify these fears, really, really like journal about this. What do they mean about you? Like, what do you think it means if you never find a partner in this world of 8 billion people? If you never find somebody to spend your life with, what do you think it says about who you are and what you're worth? Because in those two, what you uncover there is what is keeping you from finding somebody. Because once you see that, you can shift it.
So let me ask you this question on top of this. When you're going through sitting, because I feel like my belief is this, and this is where I will state it, is if you're in the dating realm, I can look at it one of two ways. If you're looking for commitment, attract one person at a time. And that's between both genders, men and women. I'm sick of this whole narrative because people listen to the boy podcast, the girl podcast, and you have these people saying the most outlandish things. Play the field, spin plates.
Date 15 people at a time.
Playing the game never really transpired, I would say. I'm going to go 15 years ago. Right? I'm going to say, so let's say 2010. I think dating was looking a lot different. You could be open, you could be honest. I could be a guy, I could see a girl out, have a conversation. I'm seeing somebody. I saw it happen the other night. A guy approaches a girl. She goes, I have a boyfriend. Right out the gate. I go, okay. And I saw this because I'm like close quarters. So, okay, she did step one. It's amazing. But she's still engaging in the conversation. So I'm like, you love the attention. That's the first thing I identified. You love the attention. Because if you did have a boyfriend, you would have said, hey, listen, you're coming up to me. I'm out. I said I have a boyfriend. Hey, that's his cue for him to take a step back. But he was clearly have the Casanova, verbal cues, the dialogue to get her keep going. And you see her keep entertaining that. So this is why I say it's not to throw and put women's feet to the fire. But if you keep if you get 20 people that knock on your door, at some point in time, you're going to open the door to one of them people. Sorry to say this. And I think it happens even with men. So it's like, you got to have a level of discernment to yourself to say am I going to entertain this? If I'm going through my healing journey, or if I'm, maybe seeing somebody, I know I can go out there and I can get approached. You have to sometimes check that and reel it back in.
Yeah. The first thing I thought of was, does she have a boyfriend, or does she just not sure that she wants you to approach her? So she's putting up a guard. And she's saying, I have a boyfriend. And then slowly she's like, okay, he's kind of cool. Okay, he's a little Casanova. Okay, but you're starting off with fear in that. And what I would teach, because what your dating life looks like is not for me to tell you. It's not for me to tell you, don't date a bunch of people at a time just because I couldn't do it. Maybe you really can. People who know how to detach can juggle a couple of dating relationships. And if they're honest about it and it works for them, who am I to tell them no? What I would teach that woman is, listen, in that moment when that fear came up and you spit out words that weren't true, that's your trigger. That's the thing that you want to manage, because you just manifested an interaction, an experience that had you on edge. You threw up your shield. Now you're in fear and you're in chaos inside. Like, you're not manifesting something real. It was real, but it wasn't, I want to say authentic. I just hate the word authentic, because I think fear is authentic, but it's not in line with who you want to be. Like that woman in the kick-ass relationship, if that's what this girl wanted, she wants to be the wifey, like the one. Well, you have to own that right from the start. That relationship doesn't create that woman. That woman creates that relationship. So you need to be her now. So you need to grab hold of that trigger and that fear, whatever your situation is. Like, if you want to try dating a bunch of people because you've never done it, absolutely, I'm going to encourage that. Like, fuck around and find out. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. But you have to know yourself to the nth degree. You have to sink into that. I will always come back to that. Like, sink into who you are. And if you want to shift it, shift it. But don't shift it because somebody else wants you to shift it, or don't shift it because of your fear. That's manifesting fear. You don't want to manifest fear.
Yep. And one of the things I want to speak to is, if the ones that are out there wanting to date around, please, when you meet new people, for the love of God, be open and honest about that. Because
1,000%.
if you're not, it creates friction. And you're going and you're dating with somebody, let's speak, because I'm pretty sure you're a high-performing individual, I'm a high-performing individual. When we go out there and we meet people from the opposite sex, right? The thing of what is going to end up being the daunting task is, we're communicating. And once you look at patterns, once you create a pattern interruption, that's when you'll know. Because then pattern interruption is now masked between lies and deception. But a lot of people have this thing as, well, I don't have to give him an explanation. I don't got to give her an explanation. Listen, when you're dealing with human beings, Be open and upfront. If you're just wanting to just jump in the sack and sleep with each other, you got to create that and say that, hey, listen, this is what I'm wanting. You can't let that be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months down the road. You're still hooking up with her, and then she's out here going la di da di da. Well, does he like me? But I'm still gonna continue to keep laying down with him, or vice versa. You
It's
can't
so
do
funny.
that.
Yeah. Because if you
So
were to coach men, that's what you would tell them. If I were to coach women, I'd be like, you got to ask. You can't keep sitting around waiting. You're manifesting more waiting. You've got to ask him. If he's not having a conversation, if he's not stepping up, if he's not leading you where you want to go,
So I'm gonna be vulnerable. I'm gonna be vulnerable here because I said
I
this is the
like it.
year. This is the year of me talking, and I would have been. I was in my mid 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and the girl, me and her started chatting. Things led to another. We start, hanging out a little bit more. We get physical. We're doing all this good stuff. I never up here wanted a relationship. But you want to know something that was so crazy? I was giving her all my attention,
Mm.
but I didn't verbalize that with her because she went back and she goes, well, if you're not wanting she goes, if you're not wanting a relationship with me, you're wanting with somebody else. And I said, no, that's actually not the case. And I got open and I got honest with her. I said, listen, you're really the only one. But she goes, I can't keep doing this with you if we're not going to have a title.
Yep.
In my years, some people are going to say is, well, you missed your chance, Roy. No, I didn't communicate it to her. And you know something that's so crazy about that? Social media is a thing. You see people show up on whatever. She don't really wanted to talk to me anymore after a few years. I try to be like, hey, listen, checking, hey, how's it been? Like, that's it. Being on some respectful type of stuff. Getting choked up over my words here.
That's okay.
And she, at the end of the day, she was like, block, remove, all of this. And I said, oh, I hurt her. That's
Mm-hmm.
what that is. I hurt her.
There's
But
still
I
pain in there.
identified that. There's pain there because she's like, I gave this guy my all. But it was masked and described as I wanted to go out there and do the one to many when it was never like that. Now, if I could reverse back the time of hands, I could have been like, hey, you're the only one I'm actually interested in. But right now, I can't subject myself to being in a relationship. And it has nothing to do with you. I'm still giving you my undivided attention. I know some people are going to say, well, you want to have your cake and eat it too. Not even. Like, I'm being serious. I just was not really wanting to, because that's when the podcast first started happening, right? So a lot of me was that's where a lot of my time, my energy, my focus was. It wasn't about trying to chase other women and stuff like that, because I
Right.
was a pretty good woman in my life.
Yeah.
It's just I fumbled it in a way because I wasn't clear with my communication. That's why now you learn from your mistakes. And I always say is be open and upfront and honest with your intention. Because if now that was to happen, I'm going to be able to identify that and be like, hey, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I may not want a relationship at this present moment. This is where I'm at in my life. I'm about growth and development. But I still am wanting to have this become what it needs to become. You have nothing to worry about. I'm not going to be out here talking to other women, trying to meet other women, because you're the only one I'm chatting with.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's it. You know what I mean? So
So
it's like for that person to make that, now they have to make that adjustment to being like, okay, so if he's saying all these things, he's got to be real with that. You know what I mean?
So can I ask you a question?
Let's talk about it. Let's go.
This is a vulnerable one, so you can plead the fifth. But is this somebody that still crosses your mind that you would still be interested in or are still interested in?
Time's passed. No, I'm good.
Okay. And I ask because this is another thing that has been a very heavy journey for me is quote unquote holding on to people. And I have somebody who was a very similar story to that I fell for and still think about. And for a very long time, and we're talking years at this point, for a very long time, I just shamed myself and thought I need to get over it. Like it got all fucked up. It's not for me. I'm just attached. And finally I released that because I've never been more detached from like everything. Like I literally pulled all the energy cords back and this person still really circulates my mind. And so now is when I get into the woo-woo shit of manifestation. It's like, there's one of two things going on there if this person still crosses your mind. Either you haven't fully learned what the universe wants you to know from it, or that person is meant to come back in your life in some way. Quite possibly both. Because the desires that are on our heart, like, stop shaming yourself for them. They're there to show you something in love. And I finally, like, for so long, I could get choked up. I blamed him for what had happened. Like, I was so angry at him, but really the person I was mad at was the version of myself who slept with him quickly because I was so excited about him, who drew up this story that he was my person without any real energy to back that up, just because we had a lot of chemistry and I put all my eggs in the basket. Like, I was so mad at that version of myself who allowed that situation to happen. Not actually him, me. And so there's still like a lesson there where I can just detach from that and forgive myself and love that version of myself wholeheartedly, because she has gotten me to me. Like, I would not be this me standing here right now talking to you without her. I wouldn't have that lesson. That lesson, unfortunately, those lessons come with pain, but it's like, when you can grow through that and then feel the love that you have for somebody, even if it's not returned, it's always returned. Like, there's love
Absolutely.
everywhere. There's
Absolutely.
abundance everywhere. Like, the growth that happens in that, without needing that person's validation, without needing that person to say, like, it's okay for you to love me, I love you back. Like, that is when you've become this, like, wow. You will feel into that when it happens and you're like, holy shit, why haven't I been doing this my whole life? Like, why? I don't need anything outside of me. But I really do believe in energy. I think it's a powerful thing. I think that's why people show up on our phones like, whoa, I just thought about that person. Like, that's not a coincidence. That's a
No.
thing. Like, oh, I thought about that earlier and now it's standing in front of me. Like, that's so weird. It's not. It's energy is so powerful. And like I said, I'm just getting into this woo woo part because I didn't believe it for a long time. I wanted to become this woman. So it took a while,
One
but
of the sorry to cut you.
no, go
One of
ahead.
the things that I've seen happen is the ones that you may have mingled with,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not everybody you get physical with. It could be a short story, or it's a long story, or it's a cool
Mm-hmm.
story, right?
Yeah.
And
It's
I've
always a cool
noticed
story.
that when you come with a purpose, because this is years of like the coaching and stuff like that, right? And I don't
Mm-hmm.
get too personal because people be like, "Are you in a relationship? Are you married? Are you this?" Listen, for the ones that are asking, my child is the podcast. It's out there. It's official. He and she turns 8 years old after October 31st. So send all notifications and happy birthday wishes to the Mitchell Port Unleashed podcast. Okay. Two, I'll never fully address what my relationship status is until there's a hardware
Yeah.
presented. That's when you guys will know, right? So that could be next week or it could be 2 years from now. Figure out your timeline. They're like, what? So what I'm trying to say here is that I've noticed that a lot of women that have come in my past now all have regrets. They see you out there and it's like deer in headlights.
It's
And
energy.
there's no issue because the thing is, like, you're the one who created whatever you wanted to create. I just got hip to the game and I was just like, I'm going to just pull all of my energy away. And I see a lot of women that I've been in conversation with. We're trying to get to know each other. And I pulled my energy away because I see the games. And now it's like they have that regret. It's like there's shame.
Hold on,
And I'm
wait.
like, what's that?
No, I was saying, hold on, wait.
Okay,
I see you now. I see you.
okay,
Not hold on, wait right now, but that's what they're saying. Like,
for
energetically,
sure.
they're like, hold up, wait, who's this guy?
Right? And the thing is, they realize their mistake. But it's like going back to that energy and that aura does not allow them to come back. Because here's the thing is this. I've always said in life, never take advantage of good, kind-hearted people in your life because they're hard to come by. So if the universe removes that from you because of your own thinking and you're not being real with yourself, you can't cry about it. because we're one of ones out here. We're one of one. You can't replace that energy. You can try, but there's no other me out there. There may be a
No.
replica, but you ain't gonna find him. He's not gonna have the vernacular.
And
He's not gonna have the tonality.
that energy is what pulls people back in. Like when we talk in the manifestation community, when you talk about becoming magnetic, you're not just because you're a magnet for everything. And to your point earlier, this is something I forgot to say when you were talking about, I forget exactly what you were saying, but my thought process was like, yeah, you're going to attract, oh, you said sometimes people just don't want to come near you. Like they feel your aura and they know they can't. There's that. And then there's the people who will feel your aura, know they can't, and then try and tear you down. That's magnetism. Because you're pulling them and they're like, I don't want to be pulled. So I'm going to try and tear you down. It is your job to know that bullshit and keep them from sticking to your magnet. Because if you allow the bullshit to stick to your magnet, you have no more stickiness left, magnetism left for the good stuff. Like all your energy is going to be drained. When you're magnetic, you're going to call in people. When you know who you are, you're going to call in people because it's magnetizing. Like people are like, what is this person? I feel them. That's energy.
Oh
Energy's
yeah. Oh
powerful.
yeah. So I'm gonna get even more vulnerable here. When you get into that one particular conversation, and when you're having that conversation with the person, you guys just lock eyes and you guys are just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And everything settles
Nobody
down
else
around you.
exists. No,
And you
nothing exists.
like
Oh, that's the best.
and you feel that. And when you feel that, people are like, hello, is anybody there? Like
I know.
your best friend, your
Guys, we're
mom, dad
still
can be talking to
here.
you, everybody can be talking to you, and you're just gone. Like those are what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And I think every man, every woman wants to have that.
Mm-hmm.
So
But you
what we're
have to be able
saying
to
here,
manage that. You
exactly,
have
and
to,
what we're saying here,
go ahead.
yeah,
You
what we're
go, you
saying here
go.
is you just gotta just give yourself the space, give yourself the time, and understand like we've all been dealt some shitty hands, man. Treat relationships like poker. Not
Yes.
every game you play means you go all in. Like, cause some of y'all be going all in on hands that I'm like, you just gave up all your chips. You just lost the game.
It's me. I'm always like, here's all my chips.
You see what I'm saying? But it's like,
And it
read the
doesn't
hands.
get anywhere. Yeah. What I have found is going all in. Like that conversation that we just talked about, that like magnetism, that like nobody exists, clear the mechanism, the whole world is like blackout except for me and you. That conversation comes with this level of excitement afterwards. And I think this happens with a lot of women, maybe with men too. But it happens and we think, I just met my person. I just met the one. I just met the one. And you're excited for the wrong things. You're excited when you don't have a void to fill, that excitement stays in the now. That excitement becomes, oh my God, I'm so excited. I just met a really great person. I'm excited for what's coming next. I'm excited for the next phone call, the next text, the next date, the next conversation, the next thing I get to learn about him. Versus I'm excited for our marriage, a white picket fence, and children. There is a very big difference. And this one, the marriage, the picket fence, we'll say like, oh, I just know it. I just feel it. Because again, it goes back to that fairy tale where we think someone is coming to save us. And our void has just been filled, maybe in more ways than one. But it's here and it's like, oh my God, my life is complete now. And that is what you have to grab hold of and transform that excitement into excitement for the now. A lot of coaches will say, oh, it's such a red flag to get excited. It's such a red flag. I'm like, this is what used to confuse the hell out of me. Like I need to restructure everything that I like about a person. I'm not allowed to feel those butterflies. I'm not allowed to feel that excitement or that really strong connection because it's wrong. It's absolutely not wrong. It's really powerful energy. But if you don't know how to manage powerful energy, it will implode on you. And then it'll blow up and it'll be, oh, that chemistry is never real. It's never something to hold on to. It can be, but you have to focus it and harness it in the right way. If that makes sense.
It does. And that's the thing. I know I'm big energy because I've
Yeah, me
had
too.
guys and everybody say that. Like, you're big energy. You're going to be a lot for a lot of people.
My friends
Thing
have told
is,
me, Kristen, you have
right?
big dick energy. And I'm like,
Oh, look.
If I had one, it would be.
Hear this one here. Ladies and gentlemen, advertisement for the show.
Everybody's got to be doing something.
Sponsored by Coffee in a Cup. That's the ad.
Buzz, buzz.
Right?
Gives you a little
But
kick.
of course, of course. And I think that you can have that type of energy, but you have to just know what it is. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I've always said to myself, and I'm speaking from a man's point of view, I think a lot of women are used to having conversations with low vibrational dudes that are
Yeah.
not necessarily have that type of vernacular, those just knows how to talk, has a gift for gab. So when you see the guy that has gift for gab, you're like, intimidation, who's this? What's he about? Oh my goodness. You see the drawback. And that's why you have all those labels that come of, well, I can't figure you out. Well, you're not supposed to figure me out yet. Oh,
You're
why are
supposed to let
you?
me be me.
Just let me be me, because if you're you and I'm me, let's see where this can go.
It's either going to work or it's not. Let's find out if we're aligned. But we're
Exactly.
so afraid of finding that out if we're aligned because of all the bullshit we've been fed.
Exactly. Exactly. And guys like myself, we can identify it. We know it. So it's like when you sit there and you're nervous, like I'll sometimes be the one that reach across the table and say, "Why are you so nervous? You don't gotta be so nervous. We just having a
Yeah.
good, we're just having a conversation. We're just having a good time." And you see them, they're like looking around, be like, "Who the fuck is this? Is this the Oracle?" And I laugh because I have to make it a joke. I'm like, "Yo, there's no, you don't gotta be like this the whole time." Like, why are you so? You okay? You all right? You just
Yeah. It's
release.
like you can read body language.
Yeah, breathe in, breathe out. And you're like, "Oh, okay, okay." You know what
And
I mean? Like,
and that's what I'm saying, like creating that safe space when you recognize that. Because when you really level up and you become conscious of yourself, you become conscious of others too. Because if your energy is off, you go, all right, what am I in right now that's throwing my energy off? Who am I around? Who am I leaking energy to that's like taking from me right now? I'm getting anxiety. You become conscious of that. So you become conscious of everyone else in the room. And I told you when we recorded on my show, like I have a good guy friend who the energy that you guys have reminds me, and he's a little bit older than you. So he's had a couple more years,
you
but
don't even know
like
my age
I
though, so don't
see
even put
it.
that out there. Don't do that. Don't
Well,
do
you got that
that.
black don't crack thing going on. So
Okay,
you
ladies and
could
gentlemen.
be, but I don't think that you're as old as him.
Ladies and gentlemen, this ad is brought to you by Skincare Foundation. No, Teach Hanley. That's what we use out here.
Sunscreen. Don't put any sunscreen on. It's
No. Teach Hanley.
poison in a can.
All right.
Ugh,
But
no,
keep those,
another
please.
conversation.
I know, right?
But yeah, he and I always talked about this, and I was like, well, that sounds manipulative to your point where it's like people will label you arrogant, people will do this, but it's just knowing yourself so well that you don't let other people's energy affect you without understanding what is happening. And so then when you hold your ground, people are like, oh, I can't figure who are you? I can't manipulate you energetically. Like, what's happening here? And it's like, oh, and it's cool when you sink into that. And I'm finally getting to that point where I can feel that. But, it takes a while. Like you've got to sink into who you are. I feel like that's the theme. Sink into who you are and
Absolutely.
don't doubt yourself.
Absolutely. So with your development, I really wanna speak to, let's just speak to the men and the women, because I feel like there's a lot of like self-development books out there that can help us all.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how you say woohoo, like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not about the woohoo books. Like everybody's like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That may work for you, but that doesn't work for me, because I can tell you 3 other books that get you the same results and even more effective, right? Because we haven't all reinvented the wheel. But what was that book, or what was that mentor? What was that coach that you went to? Where did you draw from to really start kickstarting all this?
To be honest, it was YouTube. After I had my ego death, I started Googling like at the festival when I like couldn't see my phone. I was like, what just happened to me? I think it was an ego death. That's what just kept like coming. And I started Googling books and I never ordered one, but I then, like the next day I was on YouTube and there was a very strong intuitive message coming through saying this is because you need to trust yourself. You don't trust yourself at all. You need to trust yourself. That was the main message that I kept getting that was like screaming at me. And so I just kept researching. And I don't know if you know Abraham Hicks.
Not familiar, no.
They're very, it is woo woo because she is, what's her name? Esther something. But she comes in and she's supposed to channel Abraham and they do these big conventions. And when you first kind of step into it, you're like, yo, this is like weird cult stuff. Like it feels like that because people flock to these conventions. The more I listened to it, the more I was like, this is actually really psychologically based. Like I actually really can relate to this and I can feel into it. So I just kept listening and I kept feeling into the woo woo stuff, but it wouldn't like click into my real world because I couldn't let go of things. It was like the detachment would not happen. And so the next piece for me, it was like, trust yourself. What's on my heart was really where it started. Like these desires are yours for a reason. Now you've got to learn to let them float and believe you're enough. So you've got to detach from like the specifics. Like you want this specific person because you think he's the only one who can bring you this feeling. But if you believe in yourself, you can bring yourself the feeling and open yourself up to the abundance that could be who you think he is. Let what's going to come in the form that it's going to come in and just believe in you, believe in what's here, believe in that feeling. So that's kind of, and I have a psychology background, like I have a BA in psychology.
Oh, I
So
know.
it's
I could
like
pick it up. I could pick it up.
everything just collided for me. And that's really where it stemmed from. I'm not a big reader. I try really hard to read, but I will read like half a book and then forget it exists.
And that's the thing. Psychologists, I'll tell anybody this, is there's some world renowned, like a book that I would tell people, is even though it's very basic and it's no disrespect to him, Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules to Life.
I was going to say it. I had a feeling you were going to say Jordan Peterson.
Right? And he's under a lot of scrutiny and things like that. It's whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
but
whatever.
Yeah, for a very entry level basic book, some folks will be like, okay, let me start off with that. And it's not for the faint of heart because there's a lot in there. Like you got to get through all of the stuff and then go into it. But it's just like a lot of folks gotta just, you know what I love of what you just said?
What?
Podcasts. Like there's so much stuff, free sources of information out there if you put your mind to it. Like, don't go out there, listen to the podcast by Alice Cooper, Call Her Daddy, because she's out here talking about your world, celebrity person that you like, and then go, oh, yes, I can pick up her lifestyle and then just do what it is I mean to do because she's corny. And I will say that if I was ever in a conversation with her in a podcast. I think she has a lot of corny tendencies, but that's not for me to, continue to keep amplifying on.
It's working for her.
But it's working for her. It's working for her.
That's the point. Like, what's working for you?
Money.
What? Maybe. I don't know her. I don't.
No.
What's her podcast?
Call Her Daddy podcast.
I don't listen to it. I know it because I was actually going to go with like daddy issues were going to be my thing when I first started this, when I was working with my coach, because I have a ton of them. So we were like, but I went with red flags for my podcast. Mm-hmm. But what works for you? Like, you can find something that you like and test it, but there are no freaking rules to this thing called life. None. Everything is made up. Everything around you is something somebody else thought of and created. So do that. Create from the inside out. Like, do what feels best. Do what feels right. Follow your joy, as I like to say. Absolutely. Because if you're struggling and it's just a grind all the time, no. Like if you're like, hey, I got to do a podcast because other people have been successful with podcasts, but you get to the podcast and you freaking hate it, that is not your path.
Yeah, a lot of podcasts, people want to get in this space and they realize it's not their path. Trust me.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's hard.
I tell people this, 7 years, going on 8. And we're close to be like, you're like, just to kind of give you the acknowledge you here. Like, you're going to be a part of that entering almost in that 500.
I know, I'm
You see what
excited.
I'm saying?
When you said
And
that, I was like, woo!
that's just, you know what I mean? But it's like, I knew what it is, my steps to get here. And I'll tell you, there's been men and there's women that have tried to come for me. There's some that root for me and there's some that despise me. And the only
Yeah,
reason why they despise me is because they say this motherfucker here just speaks the truth. He's been doing it for 7 years and he hasn't stopped. You
that's
know?
the thing. And people who don't think they can will try and tear you down.
Well, they came for me. I lost a couple of my features. It's so funny. I know we're just like segueing into like content creation now, but
No, that's okay. Now I'm curious. Like, what?
right? No. I had a conversation with a guest,
Uh huh.
and I lost all my. It's like I lost all my features for like 3 days, and they basically I was sitting at 11K hard dedicated following, and they took and they said, "Hey, you're about to lose 4 to 5K of your followers gone."
On Instagram or
Yes, and I was like,
why?
clearly somebody's trying to shut me down. I don't know why you're trying to shut me down though. But you know what? They can keep mass reporting. I see them all. Trust me, I see all my metrics. I see everything that's going on. But you know
Oh,
what?
jeez.
Following's coming back slowly but surely.
Well, and
It's all
that's the
good.
thing. You only fail if you give up.
Hey,
You
and
only fail if you
so
quit.
it's a warning shot by the mainstream. That's all it is. Probably a
It's
warning shot.
interesting to me. I think that we might have talked about this, but like, you're the second person in a row who's been on my guest list who has said like cancel culture, like something happened, people didn't like it, and I lost followers. But now I'm getting my followers back. So to me, it's like the universe is sending me this message that is showing me it's okay to have my fear, but I don't have to cater to it because that is a fear. Like, what if I say something and what if I mess up and what if people come for me and what if people don't like what I have to say and what if people try and tear me down? You don't have to listen to any of it, Kristen. And like what you ask for will be reflected back. Like this situation to me, it's like, wow, damn, that's two in a row, two men in a row with bigger followings, or at least who had a bigger following. Even if it drops off, you're like, I'm going to keep going. I don't care. I'm
Oh,
going to do
it's
it. I'm going
trust
to do
me,
me.
they can't. They don't even know what's coming. There's so much stuff that's coming right now that I just cannot wait to just the next.
I love that because that's like
Yeah,
I'm calling in what I need to reinforce
of course,
my strength.
of
And
course. But
it's
the thing
wonderful.
is, social media is supposed to trigger people. Like, give you an example. I know we're like segueing here, but it's like look at Hawk Two Girl. Spit on
I've
me,
made two reels off of that.
which is fine. But here's what's so funny about that now. She just opened up her Instagram, already at 1 million views. She quit her job, about to do the whole podcasting thing. Because now it's funny what she said to make herself go viral, and that's how people are going to remember her by.
Hmm.
Now, some people are going to say is, what's the pivot going to be? I got to say pivot.
Is she
I'm
interesting enough
intrigued,
to hold people's attention?
right? But the thing is now,
Can she
she's
be
got to
creative
make
enough?
sure, be creative enough. But now, when you have Shaquille O'Neal being one of your advisors, and they're saying that he's mentoring her and things like that, he's probably giving her the game. He's giving her the sauce of like, this is what you're going to have to do. But the thing is, the shelf life for a lot of these, content creators, influencers can be very, very small. And if you don't do the right things, people forget about you. But she's good. You already got 1 million. You got 1 million, what? 1 million followers on Insta. You take 10% of
But
that and you can flip it. You'll be fine.
here's the other thing. This is where my mind went. So you've now created a reel that you were very much just back end in, I don't know where she was. It looked like New Orleans or something, but Nashville, something. Somebody pops a mic in her face and she's just being funny and she makes a blowjob joke. Now, is that really aligned with who she is? Like
We don't
the
know.
content you have to create for that, this is where you have to pay attention to self. Do you feel good about continuing to create that content, or are you doing it because you think it's what the people want? Because that's when she's going to become irrelevant. When it becomes detached from her, again, authenticity, I'll use that word, but when you're forcing something, people feel it, even if just energetically, subconsciously, they feel it. And that's when they're like, nah, this is just not working. So it's like, maybe that's not her niche. We'll find out.
We'll find out. They're gonna throw her a whole bunch of money. I know, like Barstool's gonna throw her money.
Yeah.
Spotify probably gonna throw her money. But
I
I
mean,
feel like
she didn't hesitate to throw that out there. Did you see the whole interview? It's pretty funny.
No, no, I didn't get a chance to. But it's just it speaks to because I just want to see what her next step is going to be
Me
with
too.
your
I'm intrigued.
with these million of followers. Like you got to capitalize 10% of it, like 10% of it, and she can live a pretty decent life. But she's already doing guest spots at
And she has
venues
merchandise
and
and stuff. It's like Hawk to a 24, like a college hat.
like is anybody wearing that though?
I'm sure. Knowing what's out there, yes. Did you see Bryce Harper? His little shtick that he did with it, he got a double and he went like on second base. And that was like that went viral.
That's
Like,
wild. That didn't
you
come
know how
across my timeline.
they do, the Phillies usually do the numbers when they get on base. They have, they all have their
Is that
signs,
your
but
team? Is that the reason
mhm.
why you keep talking? Oh, good. Okay. Well, if you
I
look
didn't
at this,
keep. That
ladies
was
and
only the
gentlemen,
first time I brought up the Phillies.
look at this time, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to get out of here. We're not here to talk about baseball and the Phillies.
Listen, we can talk about the Phillies till our faces turn blue if we need to.
Y'all should be winning the championship, though. To be honest,
We have the best record right now.
yeah, I don't think you guys are still gonna win the championship, though.
We'll see.
Baltimore,
I don't think that, well, I mean, it's July, but their record's not better than ours.
Baltimore.
Their record's not better than ours.
Doesn't matter. World Series, it's game over.
We'll see.
Hmm.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
It's been a
Y'all
minute
need to.
for the Orioles.
That's fine. I'm a Boston Red Sox fan, so I just stay with the conversation.
2018, fine. You're a little more
It's
relevant.
crazy. I might have to talk to you about some analyticals in the baseball world. Feel like you know a little something something.
I know World Series winners. That's what I got.
There
That's
you
what I
go,
got.
right? No, that's what's up. So I know we talk a lot about, we talk about the healing, we're talking about, content creators and things like that. But before we get out of here, I feel like with you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something like no mistake that I've done with this platform. It's so organically been built where women is what I get a lot of good perspective from because a
Yeah.
lot of the base is a lot of females. You know what I mean? And when I look at females that are in this space, whatever they're doing, if it's entrepreneurship, if it's coaching, being a manifestation coach, a business owner, amplifying minds and things like that, it's what is their next step and what are they wanting to do within their community? Like what is something that you're wanting to do with this community that you're building?
Oh, God, what a good question. One that I haven't really thought of completely. I guess like as a general thing, and goes along with what I've been doing in my own mind, which is going way more general and focusing on the feeling that I want versus like the specific thing that I think is going to happen. And I'm getting better at balancing this. But I know that the feeling I want is to help women bridge the gap with each other because first of all, I think a lot of women are like, oh, I don't get along well with girls. I don't get along well with girls. I don't get along well with girls because we're so stifled on our feminine energy. At least that was my case. I would see women being all feminine and girly. I'm like, ugh. That narrative has to change because that energy is so glorious now to me. I'm like, yay, let's like be silly and fun and playful and just vulnerable with each other instead of trying to tear each other down, which is a narrative in society that it's so subconsciously ingrained in us as women that it's just instant like, ew, did you see her shoes? Ew. Like, stop it. I want to start bridging that gap with each other. And I want women to come together and realize that they don't need anything outside of them to be who they want to be. Like, you can do it all now. And the more you sink into that, who you're supposed to be with conviction, the more likely you are to manifest what you want. The more likely your life is going to turn out exactly how you want. But I know where I was, which was like a ball of anxiety all the time that my person's not coming and things aren't happening and things aren't working out, to where I am now, which is just, I feel free and relaxed and whole and complete. And that alone, like, I could stop now and be like, I'm good. I'm not going to. But that feeling, I want more women to feel that because they deserve it. Life is way too short to sit around feeling like something is missing. And when you free yourself from that, what you think is that void, the connections that come into your life, i.e. like this happened very organically and naturally. And this is fun and engaging and entertaining. And like, we're teaching and we're learning and we're growing together. That's my goal. Unlike when you just release that you think you need that, it comes to you like very naturally.
It's well said. No, it's so true. It's so true because you're starting to see like what's out there, and the ones that are supposed to come and happen, they just trickle off. You know what I mean, and things like that. Or my friend says it, they'll spin the block back around, and then that's when they want to get engaged and want to create and want to collab and want to network. And it's just like sometimes you block your blessing
Mm-hmm.
when you look at things from an opportunity of what's going to happen. And it's something that I'm actually working on before the 500th episode comes out. I'm going to break some news. I'm going to be doing a little video that I'm going to be posting on Insta. And I have to get back to those speaking monologues, but it's going to speak about what I've learned the last 500 episodes. The people that have come, the people that have gone, the people that have stayed.
Yeah.
Some people may get triggered, but it's going to be within a safe space. You know what I mean? And it's going to correlate with everything, and it's going to tie up everything, and it's going to really showcase what is coming for year 8 to year 9. Like, you know, it's a beautiful thing when you can be in this space of Instagram. You know, it's a beautiful thing when you can collaborate with people in such a engaging environment. There's no strings attached. You're not, you know, like I hear some stories of men or women having another ulterior motive just to get close to somebody, just because they want to be like, all right, let me go collaborate, but then this is what I want, type of thing, because I want to get your access points to maybe somebody or that guest. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you can't do
Yeah.
that. You know
And
what I mean?
sometimes that's such a subconscious thing that's what I want to help people bring to the forefront of their mind is like, hey, listen, I know you think you're doing this for the right reasons, but you're doing it for a motive, which means you're manipulating. And if you let that go, wait till you see what comes into your life. Like consciously pay attention to who you're being. Oh, I'm sending this text because I hope that he'll feel this. And these little things that we do where it's like, okay, you're being manipulative right now though. You're trying to manipulate the world around you because you're so afraid that what you want won't happen naturally because you don't believe in yourself. And when you believe in yourself, like truly, truly sink in it, you don't need to do anything. And
Absolutely.
it's unbelievable what will start to come into your life. And you're like, that's coincidence, until you're finally like, shit, no, that's my energy.
You can really bring a lot of you say manifestation. I don't challenge that because I think manifestations, when you speak things out in the universe, it comes back, good or bad. It took me a year and a half to get this one particular guest. And actually, believe it or not, it's so wild. It's how funny how everything is going, because
Full
her
circle.
episode will be released before yours. And it took a year and a half to get that conversation just because
Really?
these schedules were not aligning. And when I hit that, I was like, wow. And it was such an engaging conversation because you get to see what a big social media account looks like versus who the person is behind the social media account. And you know what? It's a day and night difference.
Oh, I bet. Because you're only getting somebody in 90-second clips of like their best stuff and their scripted out stuff. And like, and I will say this too, Rory, if you had this guest on a year and a half ago, I bet you wouldn't, like, there's a reason the universe was like, you're not ready, you're not ready, you're not ready, you're not ready. Okay, now you're ready. You were manifesting that. Like, you kept your eye on the belief in yourself, right? It's like, I'm worth having this guest on with this following. And like, I still desire this. I don't need it. I'm good without it, but I still desire it. And that's when it comes to fruition, is when you persist in being who you need to be to hold space for that.
Absolutely. And what I realize is that the how you get to see her in her element is when she's doing her lives. You see it, you get like tidbits of it in the reels, but you don't see it in a full out unless you watch her like her lives. So she used to do Instagram lives, YouTube lives, and when she came in, I was like, that's one of them conversations. That's one of those ones. You know what I mean? And things like that. So sometimes what you see the Instagram account is one thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you see how other people perceive you, and I see that, especially just how I navigate in the city and stuff like that. There's some people that know me, there's people that follow me. Like, shout outs to, I wanted to give her a shout out on the show. She knows who she is if she's listening. But she approached me while I was out the other night, and she's like, "Hey, I just wanted to come over." And she was nervous. I said, "Hey, you don't gotta be nervous. We just,
Yeah.
handshake, dapped her up, this and that." And it's like, you can see she was nervous. I told her, I was like, "Yo, you don't gotta be nervous. It's all good. We good. We good here. I
That's cute.
appreciate you." You know what I mean?
That's
And that's the
cool
thing,
though.
is what you pay forward. Because then people
Yeah.
remember that. They're like, "Oh, that person there, I see Rory. Rory's got an ego. He's not who he needs to be." So
Yeah. And, tacking on, it just popped into my head, like, who do I want to be with the community I'm building? I am stepping more and more into my self-worth and my self-confidence because I want to be a leader. And I think sometimes we are so focused on the people who aren't going to like us, the people who are going to tear us down, the people who I'm going to say something and they're going to fire back at me. Like, what if I piss somebody off? But if I shift that to the people that I can help, to the women who were like me 2 years ago, like curled up in bed in a ball, for just a slight portion of the day, feeling like shit because they don't think they're worth more, but also knowing like, I'm a bad bitch. I have a lot to offer somebody, but questioning yourself so much to the point where you're like, maybe this isn't going to happen for me. Maybe it's not worth it for me. Like, I want to show those women that is not the way to live. You have so much more to offer people than the doubt in yourself. Like, let's shift that, because you're only a couple mindset shifts away at that point from being an actual badass inside versus putting on the facade of like, I don't need a man. Putting on the front. Like, you want somebody. Own that shit. And then believe in yourself enough until it shows up. Like that, those are the women I want to guide, because there's just so many women out there that I'm like, I see it in you. Like, stop doubting who you are. Stop letting these fuckboys get to you to the point where you question who you are. Hold on to that, because there's a person for you. You're not going to end up alone forever. There's a person for you. That amazing relationship is out there. Just don't settle in the meantime. And enjoy the fuck out of life in the meantime. Because there's a lot to enjoy other than relationship.
so true. You got to be in love with yourself first.
If you aren't the love of your life, how are you ever going to be the love of anyone else's?
Right? Some people find it strange, before we get out of here, that I say go out and take yourself on a lunch date, a dinner date,
Do it.
a breakfast date, go to movies by yourself.
Be
Start
uncomfortable.
doing things for yourself, because when you love yourself first, that's when you're going to love everything else that comes in front of you.
Yes.
Right? And that's the thing, is like, I can go on dinner dates by myself.
Yes.
You're like, dinner dates by yourself? What? Yeah, I can go eat my steak, my porterhouse steak, my 20-ounce steak. They're like, what, you put 20 ounce, you polish 20 ounces? Yeah, I polished 20
I don't know
ounces.
if I could polish 20 ounces, but
You know
I
what I
love
mean?
sitting at the bar by myself and like talking to, like, pushing myself out of my comfort zone and just engaging with the bartender or engaging with the person next to me and being like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable, but also fun. Like, find those things for yourself and do them. Challenge yourself. Make life a little bit more of a game. Don't play games, but make it a little bit more fun and engaging and entertaining for yourself, because
Of course. A friend of mine once said it. He said it on a podcast. He goes, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. The ones that are out there that are playing games with people, eventually you're going to win that prize. And that prize ain't going to be what you think it is. And that's when you're going to be going back around and, wait, what happened?
Yep,
Was that good energy that I had?
and that's when the healing journey begins.
Yep. Before we get out of here, though,
Yes.
plug your podcast, plug the coaching, plug whatever you want to plug. This is your time.
Plug. Okay, you guys can find me on Instagram at the Kristen Aut, KristenAut. Badass manifestation coach. I work with energy and self-worth. My podcast is Oh It's Me, I'm the Red Flag. And that's like great free content if you want to figure out all the ways that you're getting in your own way. Like, please check that out. I also have freebies on my Instagram. Like, go download them. A lot of self-reflection stuff. The shit I put out there can be very triggering. Like, I'm full disclosure about that, and I'm stepping more into that because sometimes in order to heal, you need to be triggered. The healing is in the trigger. We don't really grow in the best of times. We grow through the shit. When a seed is planted in shit, it will bloom. Don't forget that. Word
Well
to the
said.
wise.
Well said. She said it. She said it.
I
But
said
this
what
is
I
where we're gonna
said.
challenge her before we get out of the show because, like, I pick up a Zodiac energy also too. I know some people are like, "Yo, you Zodiac guys, it's BS." No. What's your Zodiac? Your water sign or air sign?
What do you think it is? What are you feeling?
Are you a water sign or an air sign?
I actually don't even know. I don't know what they are. I'm on the cusp. I'll tell you that. Maybe it's water and air.
You're a summer
Uh,
baby, aren't you?
no, I'm dead winter, January 19th.
That's what I'm picking up.
So, what? Capricorn.
Aquarius.
And I'm actually technically a Capricorn, but I'm on the cusp of Aquarius.
Kind of figured that, and everybody's gonna be like, "How did you know?" Like I said, you give summer, and that's why I was thinking Cancer. But then I was like,
Ah.
"Hmm, you're
The
a
guy who made me have
Capricorn."
the guy had a spiritual awakening over was a Cancer. He just had a
Okay.
birthday, actually. That's funny.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Intuition, ladies and gentlemen, intuition. Elementary, if you're
What
watching.
were you picking up that was, and I don't know
Gotta,
what
I gotta
is
put that behind a
Capricorn and
paywall.
Aquarius.
I'm not giving them that. Nope. We're not giving them any of that. No. If they gotta pay. Yeah, they gotta pay the money for that one.
All right.
Bonus episode, ladies and gentlemen. Bonus episode.
Okay. Bonus episode.
Down the road in Philadelphia.
Oh, an in-person one. All right. I'm down.
Hey, we can do it. We can do it however we want to do it, right?
I might move back to San Diego by then, so we got to make it quick.
Boo. She said she's a Charger.
Oh, hell no. Go Birds. Always.
Look at
Technically, the
that.
Chargers are LA now.
Hey,
San
listen,
Diego doesn't
guys.
even have an NFL team.
Listen, guys. We're gonna start talking football on you, baseball, all that good stuff. But we just gonna end the episode right now.